Morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, November 27th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is Star in its reversal. So this is going to be a continuation on some of the energy that we saw that was coming through in the daily collective read over the last few days. As we saw, there was something very important that was happening right now as it relates to the feminine energy, going through some moments of feelings of overwhelm right now. These are feelings of the feminine either feeling a large uptake in their emotionality or potentially pulling back from their emotionality in spaces and places right now. This has to do a lot with feminine energy navigating their own feelings of vulnerability at this time. Feminine energy is feeling somewhat closed off, even in the energy of divine union and divine partnership right now. This is some more of that potential imbalance that we were observing that was potentially happening right now in divine union and partnership that needs to be addressed. Why was this potentially happening? Because we saw that this was a feminine energy that was feeling that overwhelm, feeling that emotional overwhelm, potentially trying to connect with the masculine on some circumstances and situations that were feeling overwhelming to them, embodying that. Masculine, for their part, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, was not necessarily coming from that same vibration or space. We saw here that this was a masculine energy that was taking a much more lighthearted or carefree approach to circumstances and situations. This is effectively leaving the feminine energy feeling a little bit isolated, even if in divine union right now. And there's something about the feminine energy not feeling like they can be fully open or vulnerable right now. It's the masculine that may be causing some difficulty even in the partnered energies. Masculine, if you are in divine union and partnership right now, you could be seeing this on the part of a feminine that may be feeling for some reason a little bit more closed off. Why is this potentially happening? Well, as I articulated, we see here that this is a masculine that was taking things a little bit more lighthearted than the feminine was. And this is why we see that there is some recalibration needed at this time. Masculine and feminine energy that are trying to come into divine union and partnership at this moment, what we are effectively seeing is this is a moment that, again, feminine energy is staying very closed off to masculine. This was a feminine energy, especially we saw if this was a masculine that tried to put off circumstances or situations, moving away from the feminine at a moment that felt like a point of crisis for the feminine. This is a feminine that is feeling that literal inability right now to open up for the masculine, more from a sake or space of self-preservation. This is almost the feminine, even if trying to come into divine union partnership right now, feeling that anxiety in being vulnerable to the masculine, because something about the last few days may have triggered the feminine feeling like the masculine may not necessarily be there to the full capacity that they would aspire them to be when the feminine energy needs them most. Masculine energy of trying to come into divine union with feminine right now, you could be feeling or seeing this right now, that something that occurred over the last few days had the feminine energy becoming more closed off to you to some capacity. And this could be a moment that you may be feeling like you're having to do a little bit of readjustment or building back some of the confidence that may have been lost over the last few days. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are in separation. This is why we see that the feminine energy isn't necessarily moving with a lot of determination right now towards partnership. There's something about the feminine having to navigate some of this feeling of overwhelm right now that's just creating a space or place where the feminine doesn't feel very open or receptive to being open at this time. This could be more of that affirmation that we saw that the feminine may have received over the last few days as it relates to the healthy karmic energy that's around them at this time, that is almost amplifying that level or degree to the feminine of feeling that point of trepidation. We saw here that this was a feminine that may have expressed some of those feelings of trepidation to the positive karmic energy that's around them at this moment, and they may have gotten further confirmation of the way that they were feeling at this time. This is why we see that the feminine is really building a shell around themselves at this moment if in separation. While masculine energy in separation right now, this could be feeling like a lot of the feminine energy right now towards you feels very closed off. It feels like there's almost a shell around them. We even saw that for some of the masculine energy in separation right now, this could be a moment where there may have even been some platonic feminine energy that's around you at this time that you may have reached out to for advice, for support, and not necessarily receiving it, potentially even getting a bit of the opposite. That may require some more of this recalibration today. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our King of Swords in its reversal. Now, this is going to be a little bit problematic even for the energy in divine union and partnership at this time. Why are we effectively seeing this? Because we see that both energies are effectively mirroring one another at this time. Feminine energy is feeling vulnerable. They're closing themselves off to a certain extent, even if in divine union and partnership at this moment. And masculine, for their part, is feeling the uncertainty about how to address the circumstances or situations that may be causing the feminine energy to be in this modality or this vibration. We are seeing here some of the difficulties that may have happened over the last few days. And I will say that even for the energy of divine union and partnership at this time, this could be some of that outside energy that had an impact on the partnership itself. Masculine energy, this is creating some states or space of confusion, uncertainty for yourself at this moment. This could be a moment that you are feeling some of that anxiety of the feminine starting to weigh on you to a certain extent. This could be one of the reasons we saw that the masculine energy wasn't necessarily in a modality where they wanted to take things as seriously as the feminine did, because it was almost a point of the masculine recognizing that it was creating a little bit of a confidence like degradation. Masculine right now could be kind of feeling a point of frustration right now in throwing your hands up, even if you're in divine union and partnership at this time, because there could be a feeling of not being sure what to do to bring the feminine out of this modality. Feminine, you could be seeing right now a masculine energy that's around you right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, of a masculine that, again, you may be feeling that sense or level of degree, and may cause some points of conflict right now, even in divine union and partnership, of the feminine feeling like the masculine isn't coming through and being as supportive as the feminine may aspire or desire them to be at this time. Now, this is either going to iterate in two different modalities. This is either the modality of a feminine recognizing that something that the feminine is experiencing can't be addressed by the masculine. It's not something that the masculine can help them with as it relates to this feeling of vulnerability at this time. Or this is a feminine that is trying to come towards the masculine and say that the reason that the feminine is in this modality is specifically due to the fact of feeling like the masculine wasn't there in the way or in the context that the feminine may have aspired or desired them to be. So this could lead to some difficult conversations right now, even if in divine union and partnership. Make sure that you're bringing a lot of empathy into these conversations. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that are trying to move into divine union and partnership at this time, what we are effectively seeing is this is a moment that, again, we are seeing and experiencing some of the weight of, again, potentially having some of this make or break energy coming in right now if you're trying to move into divine partnership, specifically because this is a feminine energy that isn't seeing the level or degree of confidence that they would aspire to in masculine energy. There is potentially something about the feminine recognizing some sense of trepidation here. As we saw, the last few days have had a lot of weight that they've been putting on the divine partnerships. If these were divine partnerships where the masculine did not stay in close connection with feminine during what felt like a bit of a crisis having to do with outside karmic energy, then this may have immediately led back into separation. While for the part of the feminine right now, if this was a masculine that did not stay in close connection with you during this point of crisis, this was a moment that you may have moved towards other karmic energy around you that effectively affirmed your own trepidation or your own fears. This is why we see that this is now feeling like a little bit of wedge right now that is between these energies, because even now there is something being expressed over the last few days that is creating a point of mirroring each other. That uncertainty reflecting back and forth to one another. Feminine closing off to a certain degree because they're feeling to a certain extent masculine hasn't been there as much as they would ideally desire them to be. Masculine feeling a little bit of anxiety and uncertainty because there's something about the feminine feeling or seeming more closed off from them than they would effectively aspire or desire for right now. So this could even be a lot of difficult conversations right now of trying to come into divine union about how you can support each other better so that you'll be more vulnerable going towards each other in the future. A lot of this energy was the bridge too far that potentially led back into separation. Now, for energy that is in separation right now, this is a little bit of a difficulty or a hurdle that we're effectively experiencing, because what we are really seeing here is a moment where we are recognizing or identifying that for the energy in separation, there is almost a distaste of feminine energy pulling away from masculine energy right now in separation, with a feeling of frustration of a masculine that doesn't necessarily feel like they are there when the feminine needs them to be. There could be a lot of articulation on this. This may have even been reaffirmed in the last few days with some of the energy that the feminine energy found themselves surrounded by. Feminine is almost saying to themselves that this is a feminine energy if in separation, moving from a place or state or feeling like they have to stay in a modality of trying to protect themselves or keeping a certain level or degree of wariness towards masculine energy. While for masculine energy in separation right now, this is a feeling that may be feeling a lack of confidence or a lack of certainty, that there is effectively a feminine that you may desire to move towards right now, but there is this anxiety or the fear that the feminine energy isn't open and receptive to it. And this is what is further amplifying that point of separation. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, third card in our 5-card spread for today is Chariot in its reversal. So, masculine and feminine energy, even if in divine union and partnership at this time, we see here that there is something that needs to be addressed to allow for that smooth operation going forward. Something that potentially occurred over the last few days is now effectively coming to that point where it has to be discussed. It has to be addressed. Feminine could be amplifying to the masculine right now if in divine partnership, what the source of the feeling of not being open right now is coming from. This could almost be, and again, this is going to be a lot of conversation, and this is going to be a little bit of that reflection point, because while we saw that the feminine was effectively saying to the masculine over the last few days prior to some of that crisis point we hit, I can only help you if you show me where it hurts. This is masculine almost saying to feminine at this moment, I can only support you if you articulate and amplify how I can do so. The problem that potentially may be happening right now, again, for the feminine energy, is it may be feeling right now, even if in divine union and partnership, that it is somewhat hard to put your finger on what is making you feel this level or degree of uncertainty. I'm sure we'll start to unpack that a little bit more as we get deeper into this reading. For both energies right now, we are seeing that this is, again, a moment of trying to find into that adjustment point. Masculine trying to look at the feminine and say, I need you to articulate on what this problem is so that we can come to a solution on it. Masculine almost saying, I can't help with that unless I know. Feminine saying, I'm having a hard time potentially articulating it, but it does seem to have some connection to the fact of feeling like the masculine isn't coming through as supportive as the feminine would effectively aspire or desire at this time. This is going to be the same reading that we're seeing for the energy trying to come into partnership and union right now. There could even be a lot of conversation right now about the feeling that something that occurred over the last few days felt like it was more of a roadblock. It was felt like more of a stopping point. It almost like abruptly brought things to a screeching halt. And this is a moment of having to address what that was to be able to find that smoother part moving forward. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that are in separation, this is potentially the cause or reason of this. This could even be for a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, a feeling of uncertainty or frustration in terms of feeling like there is an uncertainty point as to what is potentially wrong with the feminine in this context. Because what we're effectively seeing at this time is almost a masculine that feels or felt to a certain degree that things were moving in a very smooth fashion up until this point. And now we see that the feminine has certainly effectively like kind of closed off to a certain degree. This is almost a moment, and again, there's a really important right now not to be kind of taking this energy and throwing it or thrusting it outwards and looking at some of the energy around the partners and saying that they're the source of it, because this is almost a moment that is effectively a point of confirmation, but the issue effectively started wherein the energies did not come towards each other to resolve the problems themselves, but instead went to outside energy to try to get that point of clarification. Feminine, though, is potentially having that amplified to a certain degree in the fact that something that they're experiencing is being effectively confirmed by those around them. Masculine, the major source we're seeing right now, if in separation, has to do with the fact that we see that masculine, there's something here where you do feel like, again, remember some of that trepidation that we saw that was coming through over the last few days. Masculine, this is basically having to take some accounting for, if in separation right now, to the fact that the feminine effectively felt like you were pulling away when something was getting difficult instead of moving closer towards them. For the energy and separation right now, this is what is effectively potentially perpetuating that feeling of separation, because the feminine is not getting any indication of a masculine adjusting course in that degree, but rather getting further amplification of a masculine that seems to be pulling away instead of coming towards feminine in a point of need. Masculine, you may be feeling this right now, but the problem with the masculine in separation is a moment that you may not necessarily feel like you know what to do, or even if the energy that you're feeling that your drive towards right now desires you to move towards them in that fashion. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 8 of Swords in its reversal, and we love to see this card in this position, because what we're really seeing right now is difficult conversations that effectively lead to breakthrough points. Masculine and feminine energy that are moving through this together. If you are in divine union and partnership, there is potentially a point of recognizing that one needs to be open. One needs to be articulate on what you are feeling, because only a need that is expressed and communicated can be a need that is fulfilled and resolved. The partnered energies that are in divine union right now are doing some of this heavy lifting. They are doing some of that heavy work. They are looking to isolate where the source of the difficulty or hurdle lies, so that there can be a smoothness or an evenness going forward from this point. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is trying to come into partnership, this is much the same. There could be a point of observation in feeling like today is a point of finally being open about how you've been feeling. This could even have been a moment where you were holding back on a lot of this over the last few days, but now you're finally in a modality where you're feeling open or free to express. Making sure, if you're trying to come into divine union right now, that you are doing so in a positive, productive way, not in a way that feels like it is finger pointing or blame based, but something that feels like it is positive, it is productive, it is constructive, is really going to be that point of optics as to whether this is coming into the divine union frequency or if this is pushing back into separation. Now, for the energies right now that are navigating a point of separation, this is almost that point of, again, freeing yourself from any karmic cycle that isn't providing this level or degree of openness. This could even be something that feels a bit more like that inquiry-based approach coming through today. This could even be hearkening to a lot of old energy coming back right now to effectively try to get more sense of understanding as to things that did not go right, what went wrong. And it's that point of recognition or understanding that is almost allowing for this level or degree of openness to see if there is that opportunity, if there is that point of accessibility, or if this is confirmation of things that have closed up and it's time to move forward into some new pathways that feel like they're going to lead for new opportunities going forward. Masculine and feminine energy, if in separation right now, are effectively mirroring each other right now. So again, this could be leading, even in separation right now, to some difficult conversations, potentially with outside energy, to build a sense of closure, to really understand if something does have that inaccessibility point, if something cannot go forward, or if something has been cleared up in the interim that's going to allow for some smoothness as you continue forward from this time. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, we love to see this card in its position. We've got here our Tower in its reversal. So for masculine and feminine energy right now, if in divine union and partnership, this is that moment or degree of clarification. This is that easement. This is that consolation that's coming through a point of crisis, doing what one needs to do to be able to come into a point of positivity and easement going forward. Masculine and feminine that are doing this in divine union and partnership, it's going to feel like a lot of mirroring, but in a positive way, a sense of accountability. Again, and where's that accountability coming from? This is feminine potentially saying to the masculine, masculine potentially saying to the feminine, I could see that something was wrong, but you were not articulating it. Feminine potentially saying, I recognize that I should have said something and been more open to you. Masculine saying, Again, potentially I did not come through in the way that I should have to be more supportive, to make you feel open and vulnerable. And again, I need you to express that so that we can find that point of consolation going forward much more easier. This is where we see some of this hurdle is being addressed. It's allowing for productivity going forward, going through something that was difficult, but is allowing almost an immediate sense of easement. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is trying to come into divine union and partnership, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. We are seeing that, again, this is a bit of that make or break point, because we see that both energies are staying kind of closed off from the other one. Feminine is feeling closed off potentially in terms of feeling like there was a bit of a crisis, and the masculine not rising to the challenge to the degree that they would effectively hope that they would if trying to come into divine union here. This is feminine probably potentially opening up to masculine in this degree about these circumstances and situations right now. Masculine, this could be a feeling like potentially a rough note that you're potentially getting from feminine right now, because almost this is giving or expressing a feminine that is trying to articulate and amplify to you why they are staying so closed off, where some of the source of their anxiety and uncertainty lies. And this is a moment that for masculine, again, this is either a point of consideration, a point of understanding that is being reached, that is leading to positivity going forward, i.e. energy that's coming into that divine union frequency. Or this is masculine energy that is seeing the feminine energy closing off, sheltering this degree, and instead of utilizing that as a point of inquiry, is instead taking it as some sense of confirmation that something cannot go forward, in which case this is moving back into separation. And feminine is doing effectively the same. This is why somebody needs to lead forward right now in a space or place of empathy, care, and curiosity if these are going to continue to move into the divine union frequency. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is exactly why. What did we see happen over the last few days? If this was an energy of a feminine that was feeling the overwhelm of going through a bit of a crisis point, which is what we saw that was happening in separation, and masculine was not there to support the feminine. This is almost the feminine that may have articulated that the masculine was the crisis point. This could have even been feminine energy feeling a lot of the positive karmic energy around them, almost affirming them in that modality. While for masculine in separation right now, this could have been a moment that you felt like you were mitigating or navigating a lot of crisis around you. And some of this had to do with the fact that when you were articulating some of the crisis that was happening around you right now, it wasn't something that was feeling like it was being directed as something, a point of observation as to what was outside of you, but more some kind of note that you had to effectively embody. That is why we see in separation right now, there is this feeling of potential catharsis that's coming through, but in very different ways. For the feminine energy in separation, this is almost reaffirming right now. If there's a masculine that's not stepping forward to the feminine, not taking this level or degree of accountability, this is almost the feminine completely just like washing their hands of it, as we said, moving forward, going back into those spaces or places that they feel allow for that degree of openness. This is a feminine that doesn't want to feel like they have to stay closed off from a masculine, but instead the feminine is just utilizing this as a place of giving that point of confirmation as they go forward from this point, particularly if this is a feminine that is trying to express to the masculine why they felt like the masculine wasn't there to support them. And this is a moment that the fat masculine may be feeling right now. If the masculine isn't saying to the feminine or giving that point of accountability and recognition in seeing what the feminine is showing them, this is feminine that just is allowing this to be a point of coming back into separation and staying there. And this is a point of feminine healing right now for the masculine, feeling like the masculine was themselves the crisis point. While for masculine in separation right now, this is a moment that is potentially feeling like you are identifying some hurdle within the self that you're looking to amend or looking to ease. This may be feeling like a point of difficulty for masculine in separation right now because, as I mentioned, this isn't necessarily just something that was coming through right now from feminine energy that caused the point of separation, but potentially even from some healthy karmic energy around you that was trying to give you some notes or show you some aspect of yourself that you may not necessarily have been as willing or open or available to see. For the masculine in separation right now, this is that point of easement, that point of recognizing something in the self that you can correct for as you go forward from this point, which is either going to lead to a point of resolution, trying to take accountability and let the feminine energy that you now identify and know is closed off to you. You can see why that is. Almost saying to them, I understand why you are feeling this way. You are taking the note that you received and putting it into positive practice. Or this is masculine energy that is instead rejecting that point of insight, rejecting anything that's coming from feminine energy, regardless of whether it's coming from a positive karmic avenue or not, and instead just moving kind of further on your merry way, just going down the avenue that feels like it's creating the path of least resistance. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Clarification between our star and its reversal in combination with our King of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Cups in its reversal. And I'm not surprised to see this card right now. Why am I not surprised to see this card right now? Specifically because what we effectively identified for the masculine and feminine energy that was moving in a space or place of divine union and partnership at this time. There was a point of observation that was being reached as it relates to the feminine. What did we say was causing the upset with the masculine and feminine energy right now, even if in divine union and partnership? The feminine feeling like the masculine was not taking things as seriously as the feminine was moving more into a space of place of personal delight or personal pleasure, as opposed to helping the feminine through their own period or point of crisis. This could be something that the feminine is trying to articulate right now to the masculine energy that's around them right now. If in divine union and partnership, masculine, you may be taking this note. You may taking this point of accountability. You may be, again, having to hear this and effectively, again, for the energy that is in divine union and partnership, there could be something that feels a little oppositional to this, because while there may be a moment of wanting to effectively not, there's a moment that we're seeing for the divine masculine energy in this modality where it's not that you don't want to negate what the feminine's bringing forth to you at this time, but this is almost a masculine that's effectively trying to explain to the feminine. And again, the conversation that's happening right now from the masculine to the feminine is saying, it's not that I wasn't taking it seriously. It's that you didn't bring to me the point of action that I could take to make something better. I can only help with something if you articulate what it is that you need help for. So this could potentially create a little bit of that frustration right now of a masculine saying, I can only help in so much as you articulate how I can help. Feminine in this modality, again, if this is that positive, productive, positive karmic partnership, that high divine union energy, this is a moment that, again, feels like a point of understanding for you as well, because while we're almost seeing here that these are two energies that are recognizing that both things can be true. Feminine is recognizing that they could have done a better job in articulating a need to the masculine. Masculine is effectively almost amplifying to the feminine and said, I could have done a bit more work trying to get to the heart of the problem sooner. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union right now, this is the same conversation you're having. Now, for the energy that's moving in separation right now, this is if that point of mutual understanding is not being reached. If instead of, again, coming into a state or place of taking that sense of accountability and recognizing what one must change within the self, because we're seeing here that as long as masculine comes into that place of recognizing what they need to adjust or accommodate for in themselves, it's almost immediately being matched right now by feminine saying, I could have also done a better job. This is feminine energy that's almost immediately showing a point of reflectivity to masculine in saying, I could have done that as well. Masculine that's moving right now in a space or place of separation, this could be a moment of, again, the point that separation is being reached is almost like a firm feeling of rejecting that point of note, taking that sense of accountability. Masculine energy in separation right now, there could be a moment that feels like doubly difficult because that point, that note, wasn't just coming from the source of where the information came from, the feminine you're trying to move into divine union with. We're almost seeing here that it may have led to some even more fracturing as it relates to other feminine energy that is outside and around you at this time. For masculine energy in this modality right now, this could be a moment that, again, there's a point of understanding and looking within the self right now and recognizing that there is a point of accountability that may potentially be being reached right now in terms of seeing something, even if you're not accepting the note, from the optics of the feminine, seeing something and saying, okay, I do recognize that the way that they're articulating and seeing something, this is how they're seeing it. And it could be a moment of feeling the frustration of feeling misunderstood. The problem in separation right now is, again, this could be a masculine energy that is potentially recognizing that there's something that you were feeling that was being misunderstood or misarticulated. But even now, there is potentially some trepidation in terms of how to fully communicate that right now in a way that doesn't feel like it is negating the feminine's own experience of what they experience. So masculine right now, if in separation, this is feeling like a little bit of a quagmire. Feminine energy in separation right now, this is almost a feeling of deep, profound frustration for all masculine energy. This is almost a feminine energy right now that doesn't want anything to do with masculine energy. It's almost just saying like that's that point. They just want to cut things off. They just want to move away from something. They don't want to deal with something because it's too much of a burden or too much of a hurdle at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Chariot in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Swords. We love to see this card. So masculine and feminine energy right now that is in divine union and partnership. This is going to look like a huge positive right now because, again, this is going to feel a lot like a bit of a breakthrough moment. What we're effectively seeing at this time is masculine and feminine at this time, if in divine union and partnership. This isn't feeling like a deal breaker. It's almost something that is requiring a point of accommodation or a point of adjustment, some point of recognizing. And masculine is actually taking a brunt of the burden on this in terms of taking that point of responsibility. This is almost a masculine saying, you've given me now what I need. You've told me what the problem is. You've now given me what I need to be able to find the solution. Masculine was effectively articulating this to the feminine, which is, again, I can't fix a problem unless you tell me what the problem is. I could see that there was a problem, but you weren't articulating or you weren't amplifying it. Feminine, you may be recognizing this right now, and it may make you even recognize that you may have misjudged the movement of this energy because this wasn't an energy that wasn't taking some accounting in terms of how you were feeling, but instead was waiting for you to give them what they needed to be able to lend assistance. Masculine and feminine, again, if in divine union partnership, this is feeling like a little bit of a breakthrough that is helping overcome what may have felt like a bit of a hurdle over the last few days. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union, same thing as well. A lot of potential conversation right now on what could be done better to effectively adjust or accommodate for something that felt like a hurdle that needed to be overcome. Masculine and feminine energy in separation at this time, this is further confirmation of the point of separation. If a feminine is not seeing the masculine energy, taking this point of accountability, standing forward, having the courage to take accountability in this way, and recognizing, and even from a point of a feminine trying to articulate to masculine what they could have done better, this is a feminine that is effectively utilizing this as a point of closure. Of a feminine saying that this is masculine energy to a certain extent that is not allowing for productivity through a hurdle, but instead is almost showing through a lack of accountability and a lack of integrity, an inability point to be able to move forward. And this is why a lot of this feminine energy is closing things off or cutting things off very quickly right now, because this is almost a moment where the feminine doesn't want to waste any more time, because it's not the fact that the masculine isn't showing some degree of change. It's a feeling of masculine not changing and showing no ability to change that's further amplifying a feminine that's moving in this capacity. Masculine in separation right now, again, this is going to feel like a lot more of that personal journey, because this is a moment for the masculine energy in separation where you may be observing something about yourself, even if it was misunderstood, that may have expressed itself as a lack of confidence, a lack of integrity in some areas. Masculine, this is almost a note that you're getting right now. The problem is it's a note that's being experienced through a roadblock. For masculine energy right now, this is either a moment that you are moving away from the problem, continuing forward on your way, not necessarily trying to navigate or correct for this, or for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment that we see, if you're in separation, that you're utilizing this as a breakthrough point, because you're recognizing now how you were moving was being seen by the feminine, and this is now giving you a point of being able to, again, articulate to feminine going forward with a better sense that isn't going to make you look like you aren't standing in integrity, or coming through right now in terms of going back to some energy to really articulate to them that you see this aspect in yourself that you are ready and willing to change. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Chariot in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Swords in its reversal. Guys, I love all of these reverse sword cards that we are seeing today. Very positive, because what we are effectively identifying at this time is for masculine and feminine energy, if in divine union and partnership at this moment, this is a point of easement. This is a point of clarity. This is a point of finding smoother waters. This is going to feel like a lot of catharsis coming in today because, again, a roadblock that is identified is a roadblock that can be cleared. And that's allowing for this point of easement because you're seeing that this isn't a stoppage point. It's just a moment of adjustment. Masculine and feminine energy that is trying to move into divine union right now, that's also what we're potentially seeing here. And there may be a lot of energy that's, if they're moving into divine union right now, is coming from a state or space of apologies, of observation, of confirmation of what both can change, that mirroring of accountability that is allowing for that point of easement going forward. Masculine and feminine energy right now, if in separation and not seeing that level or degree of accountability, this is effectively why you're just allowing this to be a moment that's moving you forward almost unscathed. Again, it's not the fact that you aren't unscathed, but it's almost the fact of, again, almost looking at this and just wanting to release the grief from a circumstance or situation, because something about the last few days effectively may have built confirmation of something that cannot have a productive path going forward. Feminine, this is almost feeling right now like a bit of a repeating cycle. This is the feminine, again, almost getting into a state or space of saying to themselves that they're not going to allow a cycle to repeat, but instead just trying to end it or remove it as quickly as possible. That the hurdle itself is any situation or circumstance with masculine energy that isn't taking accountability for their actions. And this is almost feminine immediately moving back into a state of separation and easement. If this is old energy that's been rising up to the surface right now, this is that point of observation as to whether there is that point of accountability that's being reached in that energy, or if the energy is coming back in the same vibration, in which case feminine is not making any space or time for it. They're just continuing forward on their way. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, what we are effectively seeing is a moment that, again, you are observing what needs to be changed or accommodated for within your own self. There's something here we're seeing a masculine having this point of observation and what needs to be accounted for, what needs to be changed. And masculine, this is going to feel like a lot more of an internal journey right now if you are in separation, because again, you are observing how the way that you're moving effectively is creating some of these roadblocks for you. If again, this is some of the masculine energy that's either taking that point of accountability to the self right now, if in separation, or at the very least, if you're not taking accountability for it, you're observing how something that you were doing was being misunderstood by the feminine. And this is either, again, a leading to a space or state of productivity, something that you can correct for, which immediately creates a sense of catharsis because a problem seen can be a problem that is mitigated or modified for, versus another part of the masculine energy right now that is potentially just seeing this externally, not taking the note, just feeling like there's a roadblock here. There's something that's showing some inability to move forward in the direction that you wanted to, in which case you are just freeing yourself from the situation, choosing to stay in separation and continuing forward at this time. Though there is almost a point we're seeing of masculine trying to go back to feminine at this time to see if there is something that's viable that can continue forward at this point. The bigger question is whether the masculine's going back to a feminine to see if this is a feminine that's just open to receiving them, which they won't be, or if this is a masculine that's recognizing that there needs to be like a point of accountability that needs to be reached that's going to allow for that productive path going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Eight of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Tower card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Cups in its reversal. Different choices lead to different outcomes. Masculine and feminine energy right now, if in divine union and partnership, what we're effectively seeing is that is the point of accommodation that we see as being reached. There's something that is being observed. There's something that needs to be accounted for. Both masculine and feminine energy are doing this dual work of assessing the point of change that needs to be made, that is allowing the amplification of different decisions. It does feel like a little bit of a breakaway point because, again, this may be resulting today in trying something that you haven't tried before, doing something in a different way. But again, it is almost this moment of recognizing that something here requires a point of accommodation because something about the old way of doing something wasn't effectively working. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union at this time, you are also potentially seeing this right now. You are allowing yourselves that point of adaptability. That's what's allowing for the possibility of divine union to continue. You're taking different takes on things. You're trying things that you haven't tried before. The partnership is secure enough that you don't need to maintain a status quo. You're starting to get more specific, more creative in terms of what you're trying to do to move through any of these hurdles that you're experiencing right now, i.e. moving into that divine union frequency. These aren't your problems or their problems. They're both of your problems, and you are accommodating for that in unison. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. This is simply why we see, especially for the feminine energy right now, a moment of not effectively changing themselves, but potentially looking for new options. Because if this is a masculine, feminine energy that has masculine coming towards them right now, it's not the fact that the feminine isn't leaving themselves open and receptive to that energy. They are being very cognizant as to whether they see an energy, especially if this is old energy that's coming towards them right now, that shows some level or degree of being able to come into a state of accountability and understanding that there is something potentially here that needs to be adjusted and accounted for. If the feminine is seeing a masculine that is willing to take accountability on any of those points of past crisis, this is effectively a feminine that is leaving themselves open to see what that is. It's almost a feminine being like, okay, I have the ear. I'm here to listen to it. Go ahead and show me what you'd like to show me. Masculine, but for the feminine energy that is seeing anything that looks similar to this, that hasn't changed, that's feeling triggering or feeling repetitive, this is a feminine energy that's almost immediately breaking away and going back into separation, because this is a feminine energy that's almost cutting someone off before things can reach that point of crisis. This is almost feminine energy being like, nope, we're not going to let that pot boil up. We're just going to take it off the stove. I'm moving forward. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, this is something that you may be potentially feeling if you're in separation right now, because again, there's something about this right now where you may recognize that there was some feeling of crisis that's potentially happening around you right now. But it is potentially requiring you to take some different approaches to things, to be more adaptable. We see here that for the masculine energy, there may even been a moment where you tried to bring something towards other feminine energy to get their feedback, and that feedback wasn't something that was necessarily supportive of where you found yourself in this modality, but it may have been a note. And we see here that there's that moment of masculine trying to take a moment to consider that note, to identify and ask themselves if this is something that they feel like they need to accommodate for internally, if this is a moment that requires some point of change, or if this is a moment that they're simply going to effectively move away from something to find something that is easier. But even if you're moving away from something right now, there could be a feeling of some repetition that's happening here, some deja vu of something feeling very similar to something that you've experienced before that is still creating this sense of a lingering lesson that you're still working to learn. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving in divine union and partnership. This is that moment that, again, is amplifying the strength of the divine union and partnership at this time. Because what we are effectively identifying at this moment is a masculine that, again, what is the message that the masculine is saying to the feminine at this time? Masculine is effectively saying to the feminine, if you tell me what you need me to fix, I'm going to be there to fix it. You just need to tell me. Just need to say the word and I will be there. But You can't misunderstand and misconstrue that if you don't tell me, I will move into potentially a space or place of easement, because I'm waiting for you to give me that insight. I'm waiting for you to give me what I need to be able to step forward and help you in this capacity. Feminine, you may be recognizing this right now, and this may also be requiring you to take a point of accountability, because there could be an observation that's happening here where the feminine is also recognizing that there was something that they may have been able to state better. And this is the feminine taking that valuable note as they go forward. Both energies are feeling like there is a victory here. So this is coming through a difficult hurdle and finding that point of productivity and positivity that's going to lead to better possibilities going forward. Feminine and masculine trying to come into divine union right now. This could be more of the same of that energy. And again, for the feminine that is moving into divine union right now, this is exactly why the feminine feels the point of confirmation and continuing forward into divine union at this time, because this is a feminine energy that's effectively seeing a masculine that is amplifying their own accountability. And even if, I will say, even if this is a masculine that says, I was not trying to be in a modality where it felt like I wasn't trying to help you, I didn't know how to help you. Again, that point of accountability is the masculine not just denying what the feminine's experiencing, but embodying it and saying, I understand that you saw me like that, but you were misunderstanding. Let me give you my perspective on something. This again, if that's happening, feminine's also seeing that. This is feeling productive instead of a point of separation. The other part of the partnership right now for the energy in separation, or potentially just went into separation, this is feminine energy that did not get the masculine taking accountability for how the feminine felt. Instead, it potentially created more of that rigid environment of the masculine potentially holding doubly down to where they stood on something, potentially even getting more argumentative or getting more combative. This could even be a lot of feminine energy that felt like masculine came towards them right now, asking for some points of advice and not necessarily even feeling the positivity, because again, this is almost feminine feeling a level or degree of energy that may not necessarily even be related to divine union right now, that feels more invested in being right than actually embodying or hearing what the feminine has to say right now, which is why for the feminine energy right now, if in separation, there could be a moment of the feminine just taking a lot of things on to themselves right now, moving less in a point of separation, but more just saying that they're on a very solitary path at this moment, because this is a feminine that's feeling the double whammy of not only wanting to seek out energy that is serious, but also potentially feeling the frustration of energy around them that isn't willing to embody or understand something over the desire or degree of being right about something. For feminine, this is almost a moment of confirming their own sense of staying in solitude right now, or moving in autonomy at this moment, because this is a feminine energy saying that they only want energy around them that feels like they are on their side, that they don't feel like it's going to be a combative act to be in partnership, but one where they are feeling like they're on the same side, i.e. being able to take accountability and move forward and make accommodations and adjustments together. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, this is going to feel like a very difficult moment, because again, there's something about the observation of some of the energy around you right now that's helping you get some optics on your own behavior. And this is again, potentially you taking that accountability into your own hands, requiring and allowing this to be a moment of effectively trying to show and prove to yourself, not just to yourself, potentially even to the energy around you, that again, either this is masculine energy that is embodying these lessons, is trying to show some level or degree of having learned how to master these qualities. And this is masculine moving forward in this way to try to show themselves in a new light. So this is either masculine energy that's moving forward in this level or degree of trying to embody these lessons going forward, or going back to readjust for any spaces or places that they feel need that adjustment point. Or this is masculine energy that again is feeling a little bit more standoffish, potentially pushing off those notes, saying those things aren't true, I'm just going to go forward on my own. Again, mirroring the feminine staying on their own solitary path. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Swords in combination with our Six of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Wands. Masculine and feminine energy right now. that are in divine union and partnership. This is why we see that this is feeling like a moment of productivity, because we are seeing that there is something here about having a lot of breakthrough conversations right now, allowing for that point of understanding, allowing for that point of easement, feeling like there is this level or degree of success that's being reached in relation to being able to navigate these circumstances and situations effectively. Masculine and feminine energy in this modality at this time, this is almost amplifying or coming through at this point of feeling like there are new productive conversations that are emerging from a point of difficulty. Taking a difficulty and turning it into a positive is the beauty and the power of the divine union energy. Masculine and feminine that are trying to come into this modality right now of divine union and partnership, you're effectively seeing that this is starting to emerge. That again, you're learning a way to navigate through situations and circumstances where again, it's not that things are perfect, but that you're willing to have the productive conversations possible to find the positive point from the difficult situation. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This is why feminine is almost again leaving themselves open to new opportunities, new possibilities. Feminine energy is effectively moving forward at this time. It's not that the feminine energy is seeking out a lot of masculine energy at this time. They're leaving themselves effectively receptive to whatever the masculine energy is articulating to them right now, to be able to identify if this is masculine energy that has effectively learned these lessons at this time, i.e. allowing for a breakthrough point, or if this is feminine energy moving away from something but just trying to release the grief. Because if the feminine is staying in separation at this time and the masculine isn't showing a capacity and degree of having learned this lesson, this is almost feminine saying that the masculine energy isn't necessarily ready. They're not ready to embody these lessons. They're not on the part. This could be almost feeling like the masculine is starting to get something, but they haven't necessarily completely grasped it yet. Masculine in separation right now, you could be feeling like you're starting to grasp something. This could be a moment that you're literally starting to feel like you're starting to grasp something here, because again, even if you're moving away from something right now and trying to like release the burden of it, you feel like there is some kind of breakthrough that you've had in the last few days, even through a point of crisis. And some of it has to do with an internal understanding of the self that is allowing for new approaches. It's allowing for new communication. It is allowing for something productive to emerge out of a difficult situation. This is almost a masculine energy in separation right now, feeling a point of insisting to themselves and saying, I'm going to turn this negative into a positive. I just need to unpack it. This is the masculine almost doing this for themselves internally at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Four of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Wands. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving in divine union and partnership. What's interesting about this is, again, this feels like a cycle has come through point of completion. One of the things that's coming through right now that's almost allowing this feeling of positivity was the fact that you feel like you kind of like went through some kind of hurdle recently. There's something about this moment that's like almost saying like whatever that difficulty was, it's over now. We got through it. We got through the hard part. It's fine. Everything is okay right now, because masculine and feminine is feeling the weight of having almost a point of relief in saying we're continuing forward in this way because we got that level or degree of confirmation of something that has reached a point of adjustment. Something here has changed. Masculine and feminine energy are almost saying in divine union right now, they have this point of accommodation that they can reach. They see what they need to change. They are making that change for themselves. And that's what's allowing for that point of productivity to go forward. It's not that everything's going to be smooth sailing, but it's almost this moment of feeling like the hard part is effectively over to a certain extent. And now it's like almost like the real work begins. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is exactly the same vibration you're potentially feeling if you're trying to come into divine union at this time. Because there's a moment that, again, not holding the grief, not holding on to those feelings of resentment or frustration, but instead utilizing them to make different choices is what is confirming that this is moving you in the divine union frequency. It's amplifying that. It's holding on to it to a certain extent. And that is that moment that is also further confirming to masculine and feminine at this time that this is something that is viable to continue forward in this way. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is why we see that the feminine energy, it's not that the feminine is leaving themselves completely closed off to masculine at this point. We are seeing here that this is a feminine that just has a lot of their guard up. They got their guard up right here. They're holding on to that guard to a certain extent. And feminine is almost in a space or place where they're leaving themselves open to what the masculine is bringing forth to them right now. But feminine isn't jumping at it. Feminine isn't rushing towards it. Feminine is almost looking from a point of observation to see what they have to say, to decide and determine if there's something that shows some viability metric in being able to move forward at this time, or if this is something that just needs to be released as a point of almost further confirmation of something that needs to be let go at this time. Feminine is all doing this right now in terms of seeing, not about whether the energy is coming back to them at this time, but whether there's been a change. Whether there's been a change, a recognition of accountability that would allow for that change and something productive to emerge from it. Masculine energy and separation, this is a feeling of internal release, because this may be feeling internally right now. Again, and it's either going to feel like it is something that is being thrust upon you or something that you are embodying at this time. This is a masculine that is feeling that level or degree of change within. This is a masculine right now that is effectively saying to themselves, they're releasing that burden and allowing this to be a point of recognizing that some change needs to occur in their life right now, and they're putting themselves on the task of doing so. Or this is a masculine that, again, is seeing that change internally on a deep level. It's a recognition of something that you could do different that will make things easier going forward. And you're now, again, moving with that in terms of the way you're going forward right now, either into new opportunities and new possibilities, or you are taking this back to circumstances and situations to see if you can have a path forward now that you understand what can be changed to make it easier. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Swords in combination with our Page of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Swords. Masculine and feminine energy right now in divine union and divine partnership. There is this moment of, again, having a point of addressing situations and circumstances from the past. This is allowing, again, it's okay. It's almost the masculine and feminine energy right now that's in divine union and partnership is almost having that mutual understanding of saying it's okay to talk about the past. It's productive to talk about the past. We shouldn't leave any stone unturned as long as it's doing so in a productive fashion instead of a point of criticism, instead of a point of negation. If we're utilizing these things because we have a different solution, or it's going to allow us to make more solutions going forward that are more productive and positive, there's almost this point that is requiring a look backwards to be able to move forwards at this time. It's almost comparing the difference between what you experienced in the past versus what you're experiencing now. That is almost building that sense of confirmation to you that something can reach a point of adjustment. This is something that is empowering masculine and feminine energy right now, if in divine union and partnership, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And it is empowering the energies. Feminine's going to start to open up, be more expressive, and get a little bit of that courage back, and so is masculine. There's something here about taking that new alternative, having that new choice that is empowering both of the energies. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union. You're seeing this capability, having this capacity. This is what is further amplifying that. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is effectively why we're seeing that the separation is potentially ongoing. And I will stress, we're in the Mercury retrograde shadow period right now. The past is going to start reemerging in different ways, either metaphysically or quite tangibly right now. The important thing is about the past coming back to the surface is whether it's coming back with something new. Say it again for the people in the back. The importance about whether something's coming back from the past right now is whether it's bringing with it something that is new. Masculine and feminine is effectively leaving themselves. You're seeing here, feminine's leaving themselves wide open to a certain extent about anything that wants to come towards it in this capacity, potentially also feeling like there is something here that is unfinished or unopened. Feminine's allowing this to be that. But the point that's important here is feminine is utilizing it as a point of closure. Feminine is almost utilizing it as a point of closure. And the important thing that is identifying to the feminine energy in this modality right now is not whether the energy just reappears to a certain extent. It's whether the energy is showing that it's bringing with it something that is new, something new that it has learned, or something new that it has to say. And that is the moment that the feminine's effectively stopping, pausing, if you will, in their tracks and saying, I'll hear you out, but I'm staying a little cynical and dubious, keeping their guard up while leaving themselves receptive to whatever communication is coming towards them at this time. Masculine energy for your part right now, this is a moment that you are doing a lot of this internal assessing. Something about the last few days may have felt very triggering, or it may have given you some insight or clarity on some things from the past that you don't feel like you necessarily had the full optics on. Either the situational or circumstantial optics of the situation itself, or that moment of observation in terms of recognizing and identifying and understanding to a certain extent what needs to be changed, what needs to be modified, what needs to be recalibrated within the self. This is, again, either creating a space or place right now for masculine that even now is either creating one of two different modalities. This is either creating something that is creating a point of feeling very triggered, getting very potential reactionary, wanting to fight against it, or it's creating a space of being listening, taking the note, embodying the lesson, coming into the more of the role of the student, allowing this to be a point of grasping. The problem with the masculine energy right now is you may feel like you're going back and forth between those modalities, feeling like there's something here that is triggering to you to heal, or makes you feel like you have a reaction to it, but you're trying very hard to leave yourself open and receptive at the same time. The problem is you're moving back and forth between these zones right now. So it's hearing something that is hard to hear, but trying to embody the lesson. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Wands in combination with our Ten of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? That's what we needed. What did I say when we went into this reading today? We are looking for balance. We are looking for balance. We are looking for equilibrium. Masculine and feminine energy right now, if in divine union and partnership, there could be a feeling of some equilibrium coming into some circumstances and situations right now, which we love to see. It's exactly what we want to see right now, because this is the energy that's effectively looking at something and saying, this has reached a point of equilibrium. There's something here that has found this balance point. We can rest assured that the balance here has been reached. And that's what's allowing for this sense of productivity going forward. Masculine and feminine energy utilizing this as a point of positive communication that's further amplifying this as you proceed forward on this path. Masculine and feminine energy that is moving into divine union and partnership, this a point of being able to go through something difficult and still communicate throughout it is the balance point. That is what is allowing a point of confirmation, that is allowing you affirmation that you feel you can continue to move forward into the divine union frequency. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, this is why the feminine is leaving themselves receptive to hearing out anything that the masculine is willing to bring them at this time. But again, feminine energy is working very hard not to be reactive in this capacity. But again, holding their ground, maintaining that point of stoicism, hearing out what the energy has to say to decide if the energy coming towards them has recognized the importance and value of balance, something that will feel balanced going forward, or whether this is giving feminine energy further confirmation that this is something that they are now ready to close the chapter on and move away from. Masculine energy in this modality, there is something that you've been receiving over the last few days that may have felt very hard to hear. There's something here that feels like it is a bit of a burden for the masculine energy right now. But what's very valuable and important right now for the masculine energy and separation is this is almost a moment that we're seeing that the reason that you're leaving yourself receptive to it is because you're recognizing to some way, shape, or form that something about what you're receiving does feel like that has a point. It's almost looking at something right now. You may have even felt more fiery about this over the last few days. Now we see the masculine energy is almost in a space of being like they may have had something there. They may have brought up something that was a good point. There's almost a masculine having that point of assessment and being like they brought up a good point. Whether masculine is articulating this outside themselves right now, or if they're just keeping it to themselves, like if you're just keeping it in here, because you don't want to say it, is actually going to kind of make or break some of these partnerships right now. Because again, this is a masculine that is recognizing potentially that there's a path forward in some things right now. If the masculine can effectively go towards feminine and say, you know, you had a point there. You were right. That is something that I do. That is something that you were, you know, this is masculine almost realizing that there's some kind of point of balance that can be reached in something if they can do that. The problem for masculine energy right now, if you're in separation, is that's like the last thing that you want to do. Having that point of having to say, you got a point there, like that point of accountability that you're realizing and recognizing allows for that balance, feels like it is very hard to do. That's what's being learned here. That is the lesson. And so this is a moment that masculine's either taking this with them back to a situation to say to another energy, you had a point. I see it now. I see what you, yes, I get it. I see it. That's almost that point of masculine saying that to feminine. Or even to some of these karmic energies right now that masculine wasn't willing to receive a good note on. Just almost them going back, even in non-romantic situations right now, to try to come into a point of conciliation and say, you had a point there. But it's really difficult because this is like one of the hardest things for masculine to do. So this is either the masculine going ahead and doing that or just walking away from something, internally holding the lesson and saying, well, they had a point there. Final card for today's spread between our Five of Swords in combination with our Justice card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the moon in its reversal, which we love to see. This is beautiful energy for masculine and feminine right now, because masculine and feminine energy, if in divine union and partnership, there's something really important that's coming to the forefront here about clarity, about transparency, about balance. Masculine and feminine in divine union today is potentially going to feel like a point of easement because you're building that sense of balance as it relates to looking at some situations that may have occurred in the recent past, but shedding light on them that is allowing things to be more balanced going forward. Same right now for the energy trying to come into divine union right now. It's not like the last few days were perfect, but if the energy is coming back to each other right now with that sense of accountability, taking responsibility for your own equal measure in what created the conflict point, then that is leading to a space or place of clarity, transparency, furthering into divine union right now. The other part of the masculine and feminine energy, if in separation, there may be some situations. This is a very Venus and this is a very retrograde shadow period reading coming through right now. It's not that some of the points of the past aren't arising back either metaphysically right now or very tangibly. It's looking at them and seeing whether they've reached a point of equilibrium, whether they've reached a point of balance. And that is kind of shedding a light on the truths that need to be observed at this time, that is helping build that sense of clarity, build that sense of optics to help them energy, if in separation, recognize, again, feminine leaving themselves open to what's coming towards them right now to see if the energy is coming back with something that they couldn't bring forth in the past, i.e. balance, or resolving to the truth of a situation, something that has not changed and therefore is something that can be closed, like the cycle coming to a point of closure. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is going to feel more difficult because this is a moment that we are effectively observing right now, is almost creating a state or place for the masculine energy of recognizing, seeing something right now through different optics, getting some point of clarity that you may not necessarily have seen in the past that is allowing you to bring some point of balance in to circumstances and situations at this time. And this is a moment that we are effectively identifying is either creating a space or place of having this point of internal balance, of recognizing, of registering what you need to effectively come into that's going to create balance, better balance going forward. That point of looking at something from the past and having that sense of understanding, potentially even from some of these positive karmic energies around you right now that have helped shed light on something about yourself that you couldn't necessarily see. Or if this is something that even if you're getting that sense of understanding, you may not necessarily be willing or able to open up and express that, but you're utilizing it as an important point as you proceed forward from this point. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is King of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is moving right now from a space or place of, again, even in divine union and partnership right now, there is this feeling of the masculine having some point of feeling some anxiety as it relates to stability at this moment that needs to effectively be addressed. For masculine and feminine, even in divine union right now, there could be a moment of the masculine feeling some uncertainty around their own feeling of stability, and the feminine may necessarily have to help the masculine in this modality right now, because this is almost a moment of the masculine, again, recognizing their own anxieties and fears as it relates to stability that potentially they're not necessarily wanting to put into the divine union energy. It's almost like the masculine holding back in this way isn't necessarily fixing things, it's making it more difficult. Masculine and feminine trying to come into divine union right now, there could be a feeling right now for the masculine. What we saw or observed over the last few days was the fact that something about this work that you're currently doing right now, masculine, is almost a moment that we are identifying and seeing is creating such a difficulty for you, because again, something about this is requiring you to be vulnerable to the feminine in a way that you haven't before. And something about that vulnerability point is hard for you, because we see here that it's something that you are, masculine is almost trying to uncouple their own feeling of vulnerability right now from their feeling of stability, and recognizing that it's okay to be vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you are not stable. That in a way that is something that needs to be like separated out right now in the masculine energy to help recognize that vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness, it is a strength. Feminine may be trying to amplify and articulate this to the masculine right now and saying, if you are vulnerable to me, I'm not going to consider you weak for that. I'm going to consider you all the stronger for being vulnerable. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why the feminine energy is staying so closed off from masculine, because feminine energy feels the weight of a masculine that has created instability in the life of the feminine. But how has the masculine created instability in the life of the feminine if in separation right now? Masculine energy that refuses to be vulnerable, that refuses to take accountability, that almost doubles down in terms of amplifying that it is not their problem, it is someone else's problem. This is not something that they're willing to move or adjust for. It's like that inflexibility becomes the breakage point for feminine, which is why the feminine is not letting themselves, while they may leave themselves receptive right now to masculine coming towards them at this time, even if that energy has created instability in the past, feminine is not accepting it back in unless they clearly see that there's something about this energy that has effectively changed to such a degree of self-understanding that they can articulate and recognize what was the problem that may have led to the point of instability in the past. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is a moment that, again, something about the recent days, some things that were occurring, some things that were even being brought to you, even from positive karmic energies around you right now, may be a point that's feeling like a breakthrough at a point that you're feeling very unstable. Because again, this is almost something that is now bled out beyond the partnership energy, potentially even to energy that's around you that's trying to give you this point of insight, of clarity, of understanding of the self. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these readings. And we will do this again.